build it, you demolish it. The legendary Home Wrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
Dreary afternoon here in Raleigh, North Carolina, but we're still able to make it here today. We want to welcome you to the first episode of the season of Over the Boards with head coach Mike Gazzillo here, of course, and it's been a while since I've said this, so I'm pretty excited. This episode today is brought to you by Moe's Cameron Village and Raleigh. You can find them, of course, at 919.catering.moes.com, or you can give them a call at 919-999-3999. Coach, that's a lot of nines.
A lot of nines.
Oh, that gave me chills. It's been a while, Coach, and I thought we were best friends. We didn't catch up over the summer or anything like that.
Yeah, we're not.
I know. I mean, considering I'm 19, I can't catch a drink with you or anything like that, but we'll get there eventually, Coach. But it's been a long off season for sure. It's November now. I see you decided to keep the mustache for this month as well.
Yeah. It's kind of been around for a number of years.
I think it's good that you kept it as well, because as of this morning, you guys are 12-0 and number 6 in the ACHA Southeast Division 2 standings. Coach, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great run so far. I'm pretty excited about it, and so are the guys.
Yeah, the power rankings came out last week, and you guys were at number 7, and now you guys are at number 6. Are the power rankings going to be sort of a weekly thing, or is that more of a monthly thing?
I think it's more of a monthly thing. Mm-hmm. Basically, I just submit scores, and then there's a committee that gets together and makes decisions. So your strength of schedule, who you play, where you play, who you win, who you lose to, kind of all factors in.
So in terms of the ACHA standings in the Southeast Division, what's going to prompt, in terms of the rankings, what's going to determine if you guys are going to be able to go to regionals come March?
I believe if we finish low enough in the rankings, we're going to get an auto bid. Otherwise, we get the bid if we win the ACC tournament, which obviously is the goal.
Which is the goal. And actually tomorrow night you guys are playing the team that you lost to back in the tournament last year, Wake Forest. What's the emotion going behind your team going into that one? Because I'm sure they want some revenge.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of guys that weren't on the team last year, so they don't know anything about it. So, but the guys that were there, yeah, they definitely do want another crack at them. We know they're a good team. We know Dave's a good coach, and we know they're going to be ready. Tonight we have our last practice of the semester, so we're going to talk a little bit about this game, the UNC game, and then just what's going to get done to stay in shape for the second semester.
And we're definitely going to talk a lot about the backyard brawl coming up at the second half of the show, because that's always a lot of riot and a lot of fun to talk about for sure. It's been a while since the beginning of the year, but I want to go ahead and jump on it and talk about the West Virginia road trip. And coming into this season, we knew that it was going to be a vastly different team. You guys lost half of your players, star players like John Copelandberg, Chris Wing, Eric Webb, a lot of the depth guys, and newcomers coming in like a Riley Johnson, like an Alex Robinson. And you guys came in and you guys smoked West Virginia. And let me just get this stuff right. In the first game, you won 8-2, and the second game, you won 8-1, a back-to-back game. I remember I saw the update on Twitter because PackTV couldn't make the road trip, and I just had to read it once again. I was shocked for one thing. Sort of, what were your thoughts on that road trip?
I mean, it's good to get a road trip in early, because especially when you got a lot of new guys, because you want to try to get like some kind of team bonding going on. And the new guys kind of, they got to get a feel for how those road trips go and stuff like that. And hey, listen, guys, it's not for ACC points for the end of season tournament, but it is an ACC opponent, and we want to go out, and if you want to make a statement about what you're about, well, then you start this weekend, right? And so it's always harder to win on the road, and the guys just came out and they just played really well. It was a great weekend. You
guys also got to recycle 2 goalies in that road trip, in Joey Hall and Jess Hart. Riley Johnson had 7 goals in those games combined. I was like, wow. Yeah, Riley Johnson was on fire. But talking about goaltenders in general, what was your thought into welcoming back Jess Hart onto the team? Because if I'm not mistaken, he was on the team not last year, but the season before.
The year before, that's correct. I mean, listen, I kind of root for the guy to make the team. I didn't factor in that decision as much. I let Alex Rossetto make most of those decisions. I know Jess worked hard over the summer. I know not making the team last year, kind of got to him. I felt bad that he didn't. I give him a lot of credit for coming back. But he looked, of the four, he looked like he had been on the ice the most part of the summer, getting ready for it. So I think he was the most prepared guy coming into tryouts.
Yeah, came in, gave Joey Hall a run from his money, but he got the start in that second game. What were your thoughts on him coming into this season, especially at the end of last year? Not the game that he wanted to leave that season with, and now came in and had a pretty strong start, in West Virginia.
Yeah, he played a great game, and I mean, listen, Alex works with the four guys. We wouldn't have taken any of them if we weren't comfortable with them playing. They've all had a chance to play, and that's kind of what you need, right? You want to try to get your guys involved in the games. And Jess played well, and he's definitely analytical, just the way he is. And, so I know he talks to the defense and the offense, and, he's not critical, but he's just trying to make sure that the defensive zone is run a certain way. He's looking this way, and he has a unique perspective of it, and so he shares it in the right way. It's not what you say and how you say it, and he does it the right way. So, I mean, I was real happy for him that he got that win.
Yeah, in terms of tracking the puck, Joey Hall and Jess Tart do a very good job of that, being able to stay locked in. So after that weekend, they had a weekend off. They went to church, played some football, whatever guys decided to do in their weekend off. And then came the Stephen Russell tournament. And now that's historically a tournament that's been pretty decent for you guys. Last year, you went 2-1. You started off the tournament against George Washington, that's right. Wow, it has been a long day, middle of the week, classes, everything like that.
Gotcha.
Coming to George Washington, it's a little bit of a slow start.
Yep, you can use that term, a little bit of a slow start, It was, we played at the PNC, and we followed Georgetown and UNC, and George Washington just came out, and they were ready to go. I mean, they got up on us 3-0.
Right.
Sometimes we get into these slow start situations, and now you got to claw your way out of it. So now it's a question of, we'll see how resilient you are. Just you're not going to get three back in one shot. Just get one at a time, and let's see how it goes. And the guys stayed the course, and we were able to get back in the game.
Yeah, one thing we're going to be talking about going forward is this season is vastly different from last year in the fact that you guys have had more of an issue keeping your foot on the gas throughout the game instead of getting your foot on the gas to begin with. That was one of the only slow starts that I remember seeing from this year, and that's something vastly different from last year. But we'll get to that in a second. Coming into this year, it seems like you guys have been missing almost a true number one center. We were talking a little bit about Eric Todd and how his performance was last year and how great he's fitting in on the wing this year. And now you come in with a big-bodied Russian center and Nikita Anastratov. Amazing guy. Makes great music, by the way. I've listened to some of it. Very good music. But he comes in and he provides a really solid anchor between Sam Banashevitz and Leith Jadala. Both are guys we're going to get into talking about a little bit later. What are your thoughts on Nikita? He did have a goal in that George Washington game.
Yeah. Nikita, we had skated a little bit over the summer and kind of invited some guys that weren't on the team, which is something I hadn't really done much in the past. And Nikita came down, and you could tell right away he's a player, right? And I wasn't sure exactly where he was going to fit in. I think Sam Moore wanted him on his line. Wasn't initially what I was thinking, but I'll give Sam the benefit of the doubt on that. And Nikita's been great for the guys. He's a good player. He controls the puck well, and would like to see him shoot a little more. In all honesty, we kind of mentioned that to him, but Nikita's been really good, and he's coming into that center's role pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with everything he's doing.
Sam, of course, is Sam. There's not much.
Sam is Sam.
There's nothing left to be said about him.
Gotcha.
Leith we're going to get into a little bit later, but Riley Johnson's goal at the end. The George Washington game was the first time that Ice Pack players were able to really see Riley Johnson in action. And that goal at the end, he did an amazing job of intercepting that puck and driving it in, and it was dubbed as Riley Superman Johnson. What are your thoughts on RJ so far this year?
I mean, what's not to like? He's smiles all the time, and he's always got a great personality, and he's got a great way of talking to his line mates, and I listen to the things he's saying when those guys come off the ice, and he's a very positive influence, and he doesn't really carry himself as a freshman or a new guy on the team. You would think he'd been around for a while if you were kind of on the bench or at a practice. He's been great. So I heard Ryan Kinney had said when RJ got the puck and started moving down, he just knew he was going to score, and he just turned around to the George Washington kid and said, "Yep, watch this." And that was the end of the game. So obviously that tells you, when your captain, says that, and it's not something he says every time, that, we all have the confidence in him that he's got some good leadership abilities, and he's going to make things happen.
Now, Laith Jadala, of course, took a couple years off from his education to focus on everything else going on in his life, and he came back this year, and he's been nothing short of brilliant for your team, already fitting in well on that first line. In his free time, he's actually is a real estate agent, which I found out the other day, and I thought that was pretty incredible. But going into that, talk to me a little bit about Laith and what you've seen from him this year.
Well, interesting with Laith is the day of tryouts, the day of the first tryouts, Sam and I and Ian O'Rourke were having lunch, and we were talking about a lot of new guys and where guys were from and whatnot, and I said, yeah, I had gotten another we get like this new recruit letter, and I had gotten one, and I grabbed my phone to pull it out to look it up, and when I opened it up, Laith had literally just sent me one. And I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know who this guy is. And Ian O'Rourke looked over and went, Laith is coming out? I said, oh, you know him? He goes, everyone knows him. And I was like, oh, really? And then, yeah, we saw, a little out of hockey shape. But, we knew he'd get that back. But he had the skill, and he has the hands, and he's got the right attitude. And, again, a guy that was clearly a surprise, and he has continued to perform. He's a great guy.
Yeah, getting a good character guy like that back, coming back into that locker room, that's got to bring a huge positive reinforcement to the guys.
Absolutely. That locker room has been positive, because I check. We don't go in there much except before the game. Between periods, and on a rare occasion I'll talk to them before practice like I'm going to do tonight, but for the most part I leave that to them. That's their space, but I do ask the captains if everything's going okay, and I do expect an honest answer, and he said the locker room's been great, and I know they get together a little early on Tuesday nights. They have this they have this court thing that they came up with. I don't know that I want to know much about it, but they seem to have fun with it, and as long as they're gelling, that works for me.
And especially gelling for sure. You have a large team this year. As we were talking about a little bit earlier in the year during some of the games, you guys have basically 12 new players on the team, if I'm not mistaken, give or take a few. And coming into this year, you have a ton of healthy extras. And quickly before we go to break here, we're going to talk about sort of the games that were coming up at the sort of the halfway mark of the semester, especially that game against Duke. That was a 40-minute road trip, not too bad. A little bit of a jet lag for the guys, I can see from that, but you guys iced Alex Fong for the first time, and he stepped in really well, had an assist in that game, as well as I believe Brendan Seppi was in that game. Got in a lot of good players, a lot of good depth. What does it mean you can have a ton of guys where you can insert pretty much anywhere in the lineup whenever you need them?
I mean, that's just huge for us, because, you never know. A guy can't make it, or, for whatever reason, and I don't have to jumble my lines anymore. Eric Todd, honestly, he has really been a joy to have around this year. He's just got a great attitude. He works hard. He kind of came in a little out of shape, and he owned it. He knew it. He's not on the fourth line because he's a fourth line player. He just fits that role with those guys. And so I'm going to try to give him a bump wherever I can, and that's why when Laith was out, when Nikita was out, that was immediately I put him in. But putting in Owen Drugan or Brandon Stanley or Alex Fong is, it's not an issue for me. The biggest thing is, who don't I play? I think Alex Fong probably hasn't played as much as Owen and Brandon. And I told him the other night in practice, next time we got an opening, it's yours. Because he's been working in practice. He doesn't complain about ice time or anything. He doesn't say a word. And it doesn't go unnoticed. But I definitely want to reward the kid because he played really well. I said, in that game, I said, this guy's going to score today. And I'm surprised he didn't, but he makes some really nice plays in practice, and I think he's a guy that's, ready to go in whenever he's going to be called.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I actually started playing some fantasy football, so we need to catch up on those stats really quick. Need to make sure I'm doing the right things. We're going to take a quick break right here on PackTV. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the ball! We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
I want to welcome you back here to Raleigh, North Carolina. Moe's Kemmer Village in Raleigh. Zach Salai alongside Coach Mike Gazzillo here. Coach, I made a mistake. Turns out you don't have fantasy football, so I am winning in that department.
Yeah, but I come to understand there are a lot of comments made during the broadcast about me and my Giants.
I prefer to plead the fifth on that statement there.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that when the Giants start actually winning. So I think the biggest...
They won the other night.
Oh, really?
Cut me some slack.
Alrighty then. Well, Coach, I think the biggest thing we want to talk about is going into talking about your team. It's like we were saying, it's vastly different from last year, and I've sort of been watching your team. We know the system that you guys like to play. It's very fast, very aggressive, and last year you had a bit of a grinding team, a little bit of a depth team, and this year you have a lethal team. You have a lot of players that can score, a lot of players that can do the right things. In terms of differences, how good has it been for you and your coaching staff now with Tim Healy and Coach Rossetto to be able to see that this brand new team is able to fit this speedy system very well?
Yeah, I mean, it just makes it a lot easier for us when we're trying to decide on guys to use in certain situations and, what we can go into the season with in terms of like a forecheck or a defensive zone coverage or whatever. Mm-hmm. I do like, but I think we could work on our transition game a little bit more. We do transition well, but I honestly think last year we transitioned a little bit better. We certainly have the speed for it, but the guys are staying aggressive, and so yeah, it definitely makes it a lot easier for us when we're trying to make some like in-game corrections.
With these new onslaught of players, what does this mean for your special teams, power play, penalty kill?
Well, the interesting thing about the special teams is I think maybe it was either right after the UNC game or prior to. For some reason, I was wondering where we were this year because we really hadn't been in the box as much. And I went back and I looked to the same amount of games from last year, and we've almost doubled our goal production this year. We've cut our goals against practically in half, and we cut our penalty minutes in half. And so what that's done for us is it's allowed me to get the guys that are going to be used on penalty kill their ice time, the guys that are going to be on the power play their ice time without overusing guys. And the fact that we're doing well, I think, directly correlates with the fact that we haven't really been in the box as much. So the power play, the guys have been working it great. I mean, there's a lot of times we might not score, but we have possession of it a good part of the time. And we're working on things we need to do to improve, our shot production. As far as the penalty kill, we've got a bunch of shorties this year, which it has been great. Tim's been running that penalty kill, and he's been doing a great job with it in terms of just the forecheck on it and then what to do in the zone. And I think the guys are doing a good job. There's always room for improvement everywhere. I mean, you can look at any game, even the games obviously we're winning every one, but I could always find some room for improvement. But for the most part, they really understand the system, and they're working to implement it. And the guys he's using are the right guys, and so I'm very happy with the way that's all going.
And those special teams have improved into arguably your best game of the season so far against UNC Wilmington. A 6-0 shutout. Joey Hall, I believe that was his first shutout of his career, if I'm not mistaken. There might have been one before we came in, but overall outstanding game. You guys won 6-0, and the biggest thing that we've seen so far is the change in the kind of shots you guys are taking. I can see off the bat automatically you got guys that are driving the net that want to get in for those juicy rebounds out in front of the net. Obviously, Wilmington was having a little bit of issues in terms of their practicing because of Hurricane Florence, but in general, Wilmington gave up a good fight, but you guys came up on top. What was sort of the thoughts on the game?
Well, I mean, Wilmington's it's a divisional opponent, so it's points. So that always, heightens our desire to play well. Wilmington's usually a team that we have some struggles with. They're a good team. We did know that they hadn't been practicing, but we also are a pretty good character team. So we knew they weren't going to just come and, just see how it went. They were going all out, and that's what we expected. I think the fact that the guys just, again, they wanted the points. It was a home game, and we just didn't want to. We didn't want to get in a situation where we had a slow start and then had to figure it out. So they came out and, we played hard and they played well, and it worked out for us.
And the biggest thing as well, you guys had a 4-goal third period, and that's not something that really goes with the status quo of this season so far. As we were talking about, you guys have had some trouble keeping your foot on the gas throughout the game, but that was a pretty good third period in general. What has been said sort of about those now slow endings versus slow starts?
When you're only up 2-0 on a team like Wilmington going into the third period, the next goal is really huge, right? So if they get it, now the lead's cut in half, and guys can get on their heels a little bit. And if we get it, it just gives a little more cushion, right? And so you can't just wait for things to happen. You got to go out and make something happen. So if you want to win, and you don't want to let them back in the game, then you need to go out and go hard from the puck drop. You got 20 more minutes, so you don't have 20 minutes left in you, and they do, and they came out and they had a great third period.
And the biggest thing as well is the winds changed, the seasons changed, and apparently Alex Vedetta's scoring habits have changed. Got his first goal in the University of Richmond on that road trip.
Yep.
Outstanding game. The PackTV wasn't there as well, but we've only heard good things about it. The team was just a surprise. You made the decision this year to move Alex Vedetta from defense onto scoring, and it seems to have paid off.
Yeah. Alex, honestly, is a guy we kind of really were rooting for to make it, And I think he had played up for us a little bit last year, and I knew he had the potential to play forward. And I was looking at the incoming defenseman, and I was trying to hedge my bets on where am I going to get him the most ice time. Is he going to be in the top 6, or is he going to try to, get some fill-in spots? Whereas if I take him up as a forward, clearly just in practice or in tryouts, I kind of knew he would at least be on that fourth line, and he would get regular playing time. And so I asked him if he would consider moving up, and he said yeah, as I expected, because he is definitely a team player. And he's fit in with Matt Costigan and with Eric Todd real well. And prior to that game, he had quite a few opportunities. They just didn't go, We're just like, all right, don't get frustrated. Just stay the course, and it'll go. And, and then now he's a machine, right?
Scoring machine. And I talked to Sam Benishevitz after that game as well, just walking around campus. And Richmond, even though you guys won by a lot, they weren't an easy team to beat from what I hear.
Yeah, they were pretty consistent there. It wasn't like a lot of drop off between their first and fourth. So you couldn't let your guard down on them, even at any point. And they're home, and obviously they want to make a a good showing of it. And again, it was a team that went from the beginning to the end, and they just kept going. They just kept going. So I give them a lot of credit. It's kind of tough to do when you start getting down, with the points and stuff. But I believe they're trying to be a team that's in the ACC next year. And, as far as I'm concerned, hopefully they'll get a little stronger. College hockey is cyclical, right? Every year, you lose guys, you gain guys, and hopefully they'll pick up some guys, and I think they'll be a good team to have.
And we're going to talk a little bit now about the Backyard Brawl. The game surprisingly did not count for points in the standings. That's a whole debacle. We'll get settled out on another day most likely, but the game started off a little bit of a slow start, but you guys came back, had a 5-goal differential after the second period. Guys were scoring at a rate of about 7-2 after that first period. What did you see from the Backyard Brawl and overall the impacts? Because the attendance on that one was about 4,500 people.
Yeah, you watch the crowd file in as the game's going on. You can't not pay attention to it. We know that those games are going to be, heightened in intensity and emotion. It wasn't for points. We have 2 more games set for them. So of the 3, Jeff had a couple of guys that were injured and asked me what I thought about that first game not being for the points and using the other 2. And I'm fine with it. I was okay with it. So, but it's still bragging rights, and it's still points for rankings and stuff like that. So, it was a slow start and not really happy with it, but neither were the guys. They weren't really happy with it, and they knew it, and it's just a matter of, okay, we need to just work through this and, and change it around. And to their credit, they did, and, we had the right outcome.
And the biggest thing, of course, was Trevor Merchant is a guy that doesn't get on the score sheet a lot, but he's a guy that does all the little things right, and we're about to roll a clip here as well. Something that happened within the Backyard Brawl that not a lot of people caught. Tyler Alfonsetti's goal towards the end would not have happened without his interception at the blue line, and it was an outstanding goal. He fed that puck through the middle. Alfonsetti made a power move to the front and, of course, banged it in through the doorstep. What are your thoughts on Trevor Merchant this season so far? He seems to be always the guy that does just the right things at the right times.
Yeah, the Sams and the RJs or the Robos get the they get the goals, and they get a little more attention. But guys like Trevor, those are the guys that make things happen, right? So if you don't have the Trevors, you're not going to have the Sams and the RJs, right? So he comes out, he works hard in practice, and he's a good teammate, and his line mates like him, and they all get along. And again, they come off and they talk about do this, do that. I should have done this. I should have done that. So they're working through, being better for the next shift, and Trevor works really hard, and I'm always happy to see him. I kind of told him I think a couple of games ago, you're overdue, right? And he kind of looked at me and went, yeah, but again, he doesn't seem to get frustrated by it. He just goes out and I think he's as happy to get an assist, and a nice assist like that one, as he is to score for himself. So he's very selfless, and love having him on the team.
And especially if you're going to do the right things, you're going to be rewarded for sure. And we could see Trevor Merchant being rewarded a lot going forward. And to sort of close up today's show, Coach, I wanted to get your thoughts sort of on the road ahead. You guys are playing Wake Forest tomorrow night. And then, of course, the Governor's Cup Backyard Brawl on Monday night. And then that's it for the semester. And you guys want to finish it off strong, go 14-0. You guys really want to catapult to the top of the standings in the Southeast Division. What's going to be the mantra for the team going forward?
We'll have a little chat tonight before practice. It's our last practice before the end of the semester, and I think everyone is pretty focused on what's going on. It's not like anybody doesn't know where we stand and who we're playing, and we don't want to get complacent. Like, you're not owed any wins. You're not guaranteed any wins. Just because you've played well and you've gotten them, it doesn't mean that you don't have to go out and work for the next one. The problem with winning like this is it gets harder. It's not easier. Because the target on your back is bigger. Because everyone wants to knock you off. Everybody wants to be that team. So they're going to start throwing things because they got nothing to lose because they're the underdog in it anyway. So, again, just being confident is fine, but we don't want to take it to a level that we feel that things are just going to happen for us. They're not just going to happen. You have to make it happen.
You heard it here from the man, head coach Mike Gazzillo. They're going to make it happen. It's been a great show today, Coach. I want to thank you for coming out. I know it took a lot out of you. I mean, you don't like me that much from what I hear. So,
True.
Yeah, it happens just like that. Want to thank you guys for watching today. This has been Over the Boards with head coach Mike Gazzillo here at Moe's Cameron Village in Raleigh. Zach Sawaya here for PackTV. I'm going to stuff myself silly over Thanksgiving break. Hope you do as well, and we'll see you soon for some more Ice Pack Hockey.
We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.